Okay, folks, so again, welcome to the webinar. Today I would like to introduce Ms. Tricia Carey, who is the Director of Global Business Development at Lenzing, who will introduce our speaker. Tricia?
Great, thank you, Dina. Welcome and thank you for joining the Lenzing webinar, Transforming the Denim Experience. Lenzing is a wood-based cellulosic fiber producer making Lenzing Viscose, Lenzing Modal, and Tencel at 6 locations around the world. With a focus on the denim market, earlier this year we launched Carved in Blue, a blog and social media platform to bring you the latest information on the inner workings and innovation of the denim industry. You can visit our blog at carvedinblue.lenzing-fibers.com, or you can visit us on social media on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Today we are presenting the 4S collection, which stands for Softness, Stretch, Science, and Sustainability. We welcome the opportunity to present this collection to you in person, and you will receive further contact information after the webinar. Presenting today is my colleague, Michael Kinnemonth, who is Project Manager at Lenzing and describes himself as a jack of all trades and master of none. Having worked at all stages of the supply chain throughout his career, his experience held him in good stead when joining Cortal's Tencel in 1995. Michael says, knowing now what we didn't know then, I would not have dared venture out of the office. He first worked in the denim industry in 1974. In those days, cotton was all dominant in denim, U.S. fabric mills were all dominant, and U.S. denim brands, especially the big three, Lee, Levi's, and Wrangler, were all dominant. Open-end spinning was touted to completely replace ring spinning. Laundry finishing did not exist, as you luckily know today in your jeans. And today we find that there are many new innovations. Today we are on another denim planet of non-indigo indigo, laundry robotics, and knitted jeans. So today we'll get started and present to you Transforming the Denim Experience. Pass it off to you, Michael.
Thanks, Tricia. Hi, everybody. So today, as a textile fiber manufacturer, it is strange to some brands and retailers that we should even be talking directly to them. However, if you do not contextualize what your product does or can do for the supply chain, you can quickly become irrelevant in the market. The content of this webinar concerns a garment collection project that we produced earlier this year as a vehicle to show what contribution our fibers can make to modern premium denim. As Tricia highlighted at the beginning of the presentation, we're talking about the 4S collection, which stands for Super Soft, Super Stretch, Science and Sustainability. I'm just trying to move this on. I'm sorry, the screen is frozen. Here we go. So 4S was always the working title of this garment project, but originally stood for Super Soft, Super Stretch. However, the more we worked on the project, the more we realized that this name did not reflect everything that we wanted the project to stand for. And that's why in the end 4S became what it is today. I cannot tell you how difficult it was to A, find identical twins for this shot, and B, get them to dress exactly the same and hold still while taking the shot. The garment collection that we have developed has concentrated on product areas where we feel we're already strong in the market, but where we feel that we can bring new ideas and help designers and product developers add value in that area. So as the caption implies, we have tried to bring new ideas and new concepts to the market. So here is a quotation that I recently picked up a few weeks ago. We attended Art, and a special magazine that was published for that particular show had a lot of quotations from different people within the industry. So here we have somebody from Jack and Jones, and they're highlighting what stretch and softness means today to them in modern premium denim. So they talk about super stretch, they talk about it needing to look authentic and masculine, but they confirm at the bottom of the quotation that the most commercial option for them today is comfortable stretch models. So within this presentation, I talk about the coming together of key elements without which modern premium denim would not exist. I like to call these combinations. So the first combination is softness and stretch. Softness and stretch because it has been the fastest growing category in denim for several years now. The story of the industry in recent seasons has been one dominated less by style or wash or even celebrity endorsements, but by fabric. There has been an all-out scramble to claim the softest fabric as well as the stretchiest. Cellulosic fibers have been key to bring softness and moisture control, and therefore ultimately next to skin comfort to such products. The key to being best in class has been to bring together know-how about the right fibers, the right fabric constructions, and the right fabric finishing. These two aesthetics now find themselves as the key elements in premium core programs, not only in ladies' jeans, but also a must-have in men's jeans. The other combination that I like to talk about is science and sustainability. Science, because science is at the heart of all the research that the supply chain invests in product development. The supply chain develops the vast majority of the intellectual property in premium denim. Additionally, there will be no sustainability without science. Sustainability because anything that purports to be a premium denim in today's commercial climate has to have something exceptional to offer from a social, ethical and environmental point of view. How can a brand or retailer sell something at $100, $200 or even $300 if it is not produced responsibly? So as an example of what I mean, heritage and history are examples that are embedded in denim culture. However, certain historical practices are thankfully being confined to the history. As an example, for years the laundry industry was a major practitioner of what I like to call the black art. It was those laundry practices that gave the industry a reputation for being unhealthy for people and for planet. Finally, companies are pioneering techniques and practices based on sound scientific research to reduce the use of energy, water, chemicals and other materials in the denim industry, and thus drive real change and reducing overall environmental impact. Modern combination 3. This is about supply chain partners. Without the supply chain partners, I don't think any product would come to market nowadays. The whole is greater than the parts. Today, the aesthetic and the function of a modern denim garment is not the result of one particular element. It is the coming together of years of research, development and investment. It is the coming together of leading practitioners in their field. It is the coming together of suppliers of fibers, fabrics and finishes. And in most cases, it is the innovation and collaboration between several of those specialists. In this particular case, the collaborators and innovators you see on your screen there. So we worked with Genealogie on laundry practices, and then we have 5 mills who we work with on this project. Advanced Denim from China, Atlantic Mills from Thailand, Blue Diamond China, Orta Anadolu from Turkey, and Tori International from Japan. We actually vetted fabrics from more than 10 mills, but in the end we honed it down to the list you see on screen. I'd like to bring your attention to another quotation here, again underlining what we're talking about today. Here, Kilim is one of the leading denim mills from Turkey, and they're talking about the future lying in fabric structure and surface experience. And they're actually saying here that the number of 100% cotton in their collection is currently less than 15%. And that is underlined in our collection here today. So here are the details of the fabrics that we used in our collection. And you will see that they are made up of blends of 2, 3, and even 4 or 5 fibers. We actually vetted more than 40 fabrics and honed it down to these 8. Cellulosics are here for comfort, polyurethanes and polyesters are here for performance. And these types of fabrics are really not easy to produce. The skill is to balance the aesthetic with performance. So there really are only a limited number of premium mills who have the experience to properly achieve this. If you go back even 10 years, the average yarn count in a fabric would be around 7s English. Today it's probably near 15s and 16s. 10 years ago the option for fibers was cotton or maybe cotton stretch, and today you can see what a variety there is within the fabric showing here. Also, I'd like to bring your attention to the amount of stretch in these fabrics. Again, 10 years ago you would have probably had one choice, and that was 20 to 25% stretch. Today you have anything from 25 through 30 and 40, even up to 80 and 90% stretch. This is quite incredible when you realize that those fabrics have to return from stretch and get a recovery of at least 90 to 95%. It really takes an in-depth fabric construction know-how to achieve that. So just to recap for you about the lensing fibers that are in this particular collection. So lensing modal is a product that's made by a modified viscose rayon process. It's technically known as a high wet modulus viscose. The beechwood that is used for the pulp to make the fiber is PEFC certified. The production is total chlorine free. It's produced at the world's only integrated production site in Lenzing, Austria, which includes many recaptured purified byproducts, and which results in a carbon neutral life cycle analysis result. The characteristics of modal are softness and bulk. Tencel. Tencel is made by the unique Lyocell process. It's a closed-loop manufacturing process, and the process gives this man-made cellulosic fibers superior properties. It is FSC certified wood and pulp, and production sites are FSC certified. This is unique to Lenzing. It's produced on 4 sites globally, including the world's only integrated production site. It is the highest rated cellulosic fiber according to the SAC MSI index, and its characteristics are smoothness, luster, drape, wet and dry strength. And the thing that underpins this particular collection is that we have partnered with Genealogie, and they are the leaders in bringing new laundry techniques to the market. Wherever possible in this collection, we have used laundry technologies which have the lowest impact versus the effect achieved. Our relationship with Genealogie goes back over 20 years, and so both parties are equally comfortable with each other's technologies. As well as new laundry techniques, they also have something called EIM software, and this was developed by a very clever friend of mine, Begonia Garcia. EIM is the first environmental impact measuring software specifically for the garment finishing industry, and it was created to provide the laundries and the garment finishers with a tool that helps them build more sustainable processes. And I'd like just to run a very short video for you just to see the background to this. So, the way that we decided to bring this collection to the market was to actually create some storyboards, and we have 3 themes within this collection. So the first story is Dude Ranchers. So Dude Ranchers is about a strong retro theme coming from the romance of the American West. The inspiration derives from those Wild West heroes. The clothing and lifestyle of ranchers and cowboys are referenced in this collection. So techniques employed here include subtle fading down and illusionary fabric character. The ring spun, the crosshatch, and the neppy effects that are created with laser and not fabric. Here we have 3 garments, and here are the fabrics that go into those garments, and you can see that the laser designs are given names for their reference. So here we have a high-waisted flare style. Flares are not normally shown in stretch fabrics, but the tight recovery of this type of fabric keeps the shape of the flare from any angle you want to view it. Here I thought I'd show you an example of what an EIM report would be like for a garment. So here you will see that there are 11 processing stages. You will see that 7 of them are wet, so W stands for wet, and 4 of them are dry, so D for dry. And so within each stage you have the details of times and temperatures and concentrations. And then all that comes together in this summary here. So this is a process that uses a traffic light system. So you have green, amber and red. So green is good and low impact, amber would be medium, and red would be high impact. And this particular result actually applies to this next garment here. So this is a jacket style, and the points to note here are the imagery created by laser marking, which is further enhanced by embroidery stitching, and also hopefully you can see in the close-up that there is a neppy effect on the fabric. This again created not through the fabric but by the laser effect. And finally here, this fabric is the same as used as in the jacket, but now it looks like it's a crosshatch fabric. Again, the crosshatching gives the effect that it's in the fabric, but it's been created by the laser. The second story is called Tech Artisan. So an artisan is a skilled craft worker who creates things by hand, and the definition we give a tech artisan is somebody who creates crafted looks but with modern technology. This story combines elements from the past and the future, such as Japanese shibori from the past and laser from the future. And it takes inspiration from denim finishing by using digital denim tools. Again, a quotation here. This one comes from Mavi, and it's talking about fabrics that have maximum comfort wear but not losing authentic denim look like you will see in this particular story. They're using stretch and bi-stretch, and here they're talking about the varieties not only for women but for men. So we've included in this particular story men's styles. So this is a larger story, more garments here, and here you will see men's styles. So all the men's styles we've tried to create that have an authentic look. Here we have styles that are quite distressed, as you may expect for authentic vintage jeans for men. Here you have a skinny style compared to the 501 silhouette in the previous ones, and in all cases they look distressed, but in all cases they are fabrics that have a high level of softness and comfort and stretch is a minimum of 40 to 50%. So they look very masculine, but this is quite an illusion. They're something else, which is quite unusual. Another quotation here from Candiani, again just underlining that they are seeing growing number of men opting for what essentially are classic women's wear fabrics. Here we have lady styles in this tech artisan. So you have this bleach down style, which again is created through the effect of laser rather than bleach down. You have shibori type patterns there on the garments, which if you were doing this by hand would take absolutely hours, but here it's created in minutes and seconds. Not only have we indigo, we have garment dye. So here we have a prepare for dye fabric which has been given a particular look. Again, artisanal look, and again a tie-dye artisanal look on a prepare for dye fabric in the lady's skinny jean. Our last story we call Deconstructing Denim. And here we are taking influences from 20th century pop art. 20th century artistic movements inspired different view of denim. So these are contemporary stylized looks, trying to emphasize the relationship between fashion and art. So we're using these modern laundry techniques to emphasize the relationship between technology and sustainability in cellulosic fibers. Again, details are there for you to note on the mills, the fabrics, and the laser designs. And in this particular story, we've tried to get away from the 5-pocket jean mainly and make iconic stylized garments. So as I run through these slides, you will notice that the garments that would have taken artisans a great deal of time to produce such effects. But with the laser, again, just to emphasize, you are taking minutes or even seconds to achieve these particular looks. Again, with this one, we're producing skirts and jackets and dresses. We have one style that's a 5-pocket jean based on a prepare for dye fabric, but again, showing quite stylized geometric shapes. And even within the geometric shapes, we've even taken the damage and the cuts to the garments to have them in the shape of a geometric shape rather than just a straight cut along the knee, which I think is quite original. We've never seen that one before. Stretch fabrics going into jackets, quite original. And finally, the iconic piece, I think, for this whole collection. This fabric is almost 90% stretch with great recovery, and really helps produce this athleisure influence style dress. So there are the details if you are personally interested in getting in touch with Genealogie. If you want details of the fabrics, we can pass them on to you, or if you know the mill contacts directly, they're the mills that we work with, and they are the contacts for the denim team within Lenzing. So Tricia Carey, who leads the denim team, is based in New York, and that's my email address. I'm based out of the UK. So thank you very much for listening.
Michael, thank you so very much. Well done. We do have a few questions from the audience, and we have a little bit more time if you are able to stay on the webinar for listening.
Sure.
So, Michael, you ended with Genealogie, with some of the information that people can use to get in touch with them if they want to. There's some questions as to how some of your partners were chosen, particularly the Genealogie people, and whether or not you can discuss how you chose them and what benefits they brought to the program.
Well, I think I might have said in the presentation, I personally, and we have worked with Genealogie since 1995. I think in those early days when I joined Tencel, we didn't know very much at all about the supply chain, about laundry or anything else. And in those early days, we worked on basic laundry techniques just to get Tencel fabrics to work in the laundry. So there was a lot of development at that time. But as our fibers have developed in the market, and as Genealogie business model has changed radically, they have become the leading suppliers of machinery and sustainable thinking in the market for the laundry industry. So in all cases, if we are working with fiber companies, if we're working with fabric companies, if we're working with chemical companies, we try and align ourselves with the leaders in the industry. And so for us, it really was what I would call a no-brainer to partner with them, because we've worked with them and they understand the fabrics made from our fibers inside out. So rather than having to start from scratch with somebody new, it's just easier to work with somebody that you're comfortable with and you know that they are the leaders in their field. In terms of the mill partners, I think over the last 5 years we've been building relationships with many companies, and those companies tend to be the ones that exhibit at the international fabric shows, and through discussions, through technical liaison, we have built relationships, and we know the guys who are making the developments that are pushing the boundaries. And so in this case, we had a brief, we knew what garments we wanted to make, and like I say, we were vetting more than 10 mills. It just happened that the fabrics from the mills we chose were the best fit for us. Next time it may be 6 or 7 or 8 other mills, because now I think we have a very strong relationship with probably more than 50 mills, and we have over 100 mills in our portfolio.
That's great, Michael. Thank you. While we're on the subject of Genealogie, how does Tencel react to the laser and ozone processes from Genealogie, and does it affect the tensile and tear strength?
Well, I think that from an ozone point of view, you are using ozone as an environmental alternative to other bleaching techniques, and so Tencel is just a vehicle for the dye stuff which is being affected by ozone, and so the loss in strength of Tencel, be it 5 or 10%, would be the same as the 5 or 10% loss in strength of cotton or anything else. In terms of laser, we've seen a very interesting phenomena with laser, in that the laser tends to give a very clean, high resolution image on Tencel bases, and we will be coming out with we will be launching a story and a manual and things to support that in the near future, to talk about the laser story, because we think out of all the fabrics made from different fibers out there, Tencel seems to have some advantages. Again, it's quite possible with any technique to reduce the strength of any textile, but Tencel is not losing any more strength than any other cellulosic in this technique.
Okay, thank you. Michael, can you explain the mill stretch test method?
The mill stretch test method? Oh, I see. Right, yes. I can't, those figures that you saw on the screen are not what, we have not personally tested those figures. If you, on the, I think on the slide that shows the stretch, I actually have reference on there that they are the figures supplied by the mills themselves. So if it says 40% stretch, we have not gone ahead to confirm that. We took those figures as being ones that are bona fide. So we are not necessarily aware of the test methods that they've used. I'm only assuming that they are using standard international test methods, which will be ISO or British or US standards.
Okay, So thank you for that. I have a kind of a question and a comment here for you, Michael. Are you doing any work to develop fabrics that are 100% bio-based? One of the exciting aspects of Tencel is the possibility of cotton cellulosic blend fabric, but I see that all the fabrics shown have some percentage of oil-based, either poly or spandex content.
Well, if you want stretch fabrics today, you have to have fibers in there that are heat settable, which means things based on plastics or oil based. Actually, you can create something that that I call mechanical stretch or natural stretch out of 100% cellulosic, and Tencel fabrics are the best at that, but it tends to work on very lightweight fabrics, and as you increase the yarn size and get heavier with fabrics, it's much more difficult to get recovery from stretch in 100% cellulosic. And that's the key, really the key to stretch is not stretch. If you put any fabric under enough load, you will stretch it. The key to stretch fabrics are recovery from stretch, because you don't want puckering, you don't want bagging. And to me today, it's utterly amazing that somebody can bring in 50% stretch or higher and still get very good recovery. And that's down to that with current techniques, that is down to the skill of people making elastomeric fibers or polyester fibers, and that's the limit of technology today.
Michael, is there a particular blend ratio that you would recommend for Tencel and denim?
The answer is it depends, I would say. I think that if you take 100% Tencel, since Tencel's been in the market, I think there's definitely a trend has developed where 100% Tencel fabrics tend to be at the lighter end. So you will find 7 ounces and below where you will find 100% Tencel. If you put Tencel into a 14-ounce fabric, it would feel too heavy, too drapey. So you tend to find that at the lower end you get 100%. In medium weights, what I would call medium weights, so 7 to 10 ounces, you would find blends. You would find 50-50 blends, 60-40, 70-30. And then if you're getting up to 12.5 ounce and above, Tencel tends to be maximum 50% or less. So there isn't an optimum. It depends, I would say. But what I would say is, if you put Tencel in the warp, you are going to get a much more significant effect on softness and drape and handle than putting it in the weft. So the warp has a dominant effect in a woven fabric.
Okay, so a good follow-up question to that, Michael. There seems to be some question about the balance between softness and strength in denim. So the question would be, how do you get maximum softness in denim and still have good strength?
Well, if you look at the fundamental strength of Tencel, fiber strength and fabric strength and yarn strength, it is higher than cotton. It starts off higher than cotton. It remains higher than cotton. So as we've moved in the laundry industry, as we've moved from destructive techniques, which are based on very aggressive chemical techniques or very aggressive physical techniques to a more digital processing age, be it with laser or be it with able to use techniques like ozone, you are not weakening the fabrics in the same way. So the new environmentally responsible techniques that are being used in laundries are moving away things that would significantly reduce the fabric strength. So for me, it's kind of a win-win situation. Of course, there's still a large part of the market who are using techniques with pumice-stones, with hypochlorite bleaching. There's still sandblasting going on. There's still high levels of resination going on. And in those areas, you always have the chance to overcook it. But I would say with these more modern techniques, I think there's less and less and less issue about having something that's been weakened beyond its commerciality.
There's a good, I think, follow-up question for that. There's a few more here. Sorry, Michael, there's a bunch, so we'll get to them all. Do you have any recommendations for testing softness, sculpting, and contouring?
No.
Okay. This is something that certainly we can get back to the questioner on this one.
We've been grappling with softness and comfort. People may have heard of Kawabata test that was developed in Japan many, many years ago. And there are tests that try and test surface softness or drape or change of shape, and we've tried to do this, but it's highly complex, and we were hoping that we could come up with a neat little formula to say, yes, Tencel has a figure of 8 out of 10, therefore it's, but softness and comfort are also down to physiological things like moisture absorbency. And so we haven't given up on it, but we're finding it ever so difficult because you come up with a set of numbers and then you have to then explain why those set of numbers are positive or not, and then you get lost in the science of it, and it's super, super complex. So I would say, unfortunately, on the softness and comfort side, there are techniques, but you would spend a couple of hours trying to understand that. And in the end, I think it's more or less, if somebody wears a garment or touches it, they can tell subjectively if it's soft or not. In terms of sculpting, so sorry.
Go ahead, Michael, please.
Yeah, I don't necessarily understand in terms what the question means in terms of sculpting.
I think actually, Michael, we'll separate that and take that offline. That questioner can certainly get back to you with that particular question, but I do have another question on testing, and again, you may or may not be able to answer this, but are there tests that you would perform or recommend performing when trying a new elastomeric fiber?
Well, I think the only thing would be to test it in the same way as you would test existing fibers. That could be the only way to do it. You mean, I don't know if they mean a new one in terms of a replacement fiber or a brand new stretch fiber that gives you stretch. I mean, in the end, you need something that is going to stretch to the length, to the dimension you want it to stretch, and importantly, you need it to recover from that stretch. So I think it's easier to use standard test methods because you have a base to work from. You just have to work out. I think the fibers that are supposedly gives what they classify as comfort stretch tend to be the ones that recover very well, but they recover very well because you're not extending them significantly. And I think Invista are leaders in this thinking, and I think this is why they came up with their dual effects concept, which they took, where they took the best of elastomers or lycra, and they brought it together with T400, which gave different characteristics, and they brought that together in dual effects, and that was really a leading product in working very well to recover from these very, very high stretches that everybody was trying to achieve.
Okay, and I'm so sorry, folks. I'm trying to interpret some of the questions here and get them out, but let me do my best on this one. And actually, Fernando, I might ask you to rephrase your question. So a separate one, Michael. Tencel has a moisture wicking feature. How do you think this can be proven or communicated to the end consumer in the footsteps of athleisure trend and styling?
Well, actually, every fiber can contribute to wicking. And we saw an interesting effect when we started to make fabrics for athletic wear, where we were making knitted, more or less two-sided fabrics. So you'd have polyester and Tencel, and you'd have polyester against the skin, and you'd have Tencel on the face of the fabric. And the polyester would wick the moisture away from the body, but by wicking away from the body, it has to go somewhere. And it went through the fabric onto the face, and Tencel has such a good absorbency of moisture that the moisture would spread on the surface, and the more you can spread the moisture on the surface, the quicker it evaporates, and the quicker it keeps you cool. So I think the ultimate comfort probably comes from a blend of a synthetic and a cellulosic.
Michael, do we have any special wet processing, biowashing cellulose enzymes for Tencel compared to cotton? And is biopolishing or biowashing a more preferred process for Tencel?
Right, so I would say 95% of all Tencel that goes into denim products is what we call standard Tencel. So this is a fiber that is a fibrillating fiber, and therefore you need to deal with that fibrillation in laundry washing. We have other fibers that don't fibrillate, but standard Tencel is the main one in the industry. And yes, the reason why Tencel actually arrived in the denim category even as early as the mid-90s was because we began to understand enzyme technology and how to use it, and we worked very closely with the Japanese, and we worked very closely at the time with the enzyme suppliers. So we worked with Genealogie, we worked with Novo Nordisk, and the ones that are described as you described before are the cellulase enzymes work perfectly well on Tencel. So the ones designed to clean up the surface hairiness of cotton are the ones that worked exactly on Tencel. And that revolution really went on in the late 90s. I think enzyme technology since that time has not really moved on in terms of cellulases. It's moved on in terms of other types like proteases or whatever else. So I would say in terms of enzyme technology, there is a wide choice in the market that works perfectly well on Tencel.
Michael, can you discuss any cooling effects which might be a part of certainly some of the Tencel blends that you discussed in this presentation?
I don't know if we could claim cooling effects. I think Tencel has Tencel fiber and the yarns and the subsequent fabrics made from it. They have a smooth surface, and so when you immediately put those fabrics, wear those fabrics against your body, they feel cool to touch. But I think long term, medium or long term, it's very difficult to have anything that's going to be cool to the touch. And you have technical products like Outlast, where you have something that's encapsulated in the fiber, like a wax, that can actually take body heat. So it's what's called a phase change. So the wax is absorbing body and it's going from a solid to a semi-liquid, and so it keeps you cool. But I don't know any technology necessarily that can keep you constantly cool. So we're not, in this case, we are not claiming any cooling effect, and I think it would be very difficult, even if you had a fiber that could work that way, when you're having to work with blends. You're having to work with blends because of, you're bringing in stretch or something else. So as soon as you start moving away from 100%, your claims on cooling effects or whatever else are being reduced.
Michael, I have one more question, but before we get to that, folks, there are two questions in the audience. I'm sorry, I just cannot understand, so I've sent you individual notes to please, if you can, rephrase them so that I can ask them before we get off the webinar. But Michael, I have one more here for you before those come back in. Can you speak to the future? Are you planning on launching more denim collections? How often are you going to do this? Can you just help the folks in the audience understand what you're planning on doing in the future?
Yes. So in the future, well, actually, we've had a collection prior to this, which we called Tencel 24, and that was based on Tencel chambray fabrics that we are probably primarily known for, that are quite unique products to Tencel in the market and instantly recognizable. But yeah, we found that this way of marketing our product has been very good for us. I think it's a technique. It's a marketing technique that people can actually really understand instantly, because we're showing something, we're showing final product. You could envisage what it would be for you, or how you might adapt it. So for sure, we will be bringing out more collections. We'd love to do more, but the amount of work that goes into these things means that we probably will be doing this on a 6-monthly basis at best. But we may bring out mini collections based on technical stories. We are planning 1 or 2 in the meantime. The next big collection will probably be in spring of 2017, but for sure we're very pleased with how this has gone, and we will be looking for other partners, so watch this space.
Michael, I'm going to give this a try. Can you speak to the fabric product development using Tencel and Modal with knits denim application vis-a-vis woven technology?
I can only assume that you maybe are talking about what I would call faux knits, so actually woven structures that look like they're knits, like French terry.
Let's try that, Michael, and then again, we can always follow up separately.
Yeah, all I would say that there have been some in the market containing our fibers, and we have some in our archives, and we like them a lot. But I think that the market is going beyond that now. I think there is an increasingly strong interest in knits themselves, and we will have a collection coming out that we've partnered with a couple of companies in the Americas, and we've been part of another collection with Santoni in Italy, who make seamless garments. And I would say that if you look at the work of Adriano Goldschmidt, his primary vehicle for his designs nowadays are on knitted athleisure type indigo product. He has his own brand. He has his own a new line that he's selling. So I think rather than the faux knits, which work very well with our fibers, the market is moving beyond that now.
So, Michael, I'd like to thank you very much. Well done. And thank you also to Tricia Carey, who helped organize this webinar. As a reminder to everybody, yes, you will receive a copy of this presentation as well as a link to this recording. And you will also be given the contact information again for both the Lensing folks, so that you can certainly follow up with any questions you might have. So, Michael, again, thank you. Very well done. And we are right at 1 o'clock, so we have kept to our time limit for folks to enjoy this webinar over lunch.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.